Hello and welcome to the Everyone Has a Story podcast. One of my favorite things to talk about, to just enjoy waking up every day, is to think about anticipations. I just love what anticipations mean to me. And so what that does is it brings up probably a good dozen of my favorite stories. But because of my podcast and my guest speaker, I don't want to take up my whole time just telling one story after another, because I do want her involvement as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with probably one of my most favorite stories. It's the fall of the year before my dad passes away. And every fall, my dad and we just love to go deer hunting. I mean, it's just one of his favorite things that he's done his whole 78 years of life, something that he brought me up doing when I was 10 years old, if not younger. And so it was just a pleasant time, a happy time for me. And so this one particular fall, we're climbing up this hill to get a better vantage point. And I see that he's really breathing harder than normal. You know, my dad was 78 at the time. He was breathing harder than normal, just struggling. So he asked if we could sit down. So we sat down where we could just kind of just talk and not really spook any animals around us. And as he's trying to catch his breath, I asked my dad, "Why do you still want to do this? Why do you want to still climb up these mountains and carry that heavy gun? And if we shoot a deer, we got to drag that thing out of the canyon and stuff like that." And he looked at me with those really, deep father eyes and said, "I just love the anticipation that there might be a deer that comes around the corner, or I step around a tree and here's this big deer that I want to be able to have that excitement in my life." And I'm looking at my dad, he's breathing hard, he's 78 years old, but he was still at that moment, he was back being a teenager, being a young man, and just living every moment for that anticipation of that big deer just might come around the corner one more time. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, because to me, we all have anticipations. It could be going to our favorite restaurant and knowing we're going to have that great meal. It might be going to a movie that we've heard was the best movie ever. Or if we get back to the community that I'm used to, the business community, as business owners, we had that anticipation that we are going to change our lives financially and give us more freedom in our time. All these different anticipations. But you know what? We're still the queen and king of our own anticipations. We are in control. And that's what we're going to talk about today with my guest speaker and my returning guest, Susanna. How are you, Susanna?
Hello, Roger. I'm fine. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. It's great to have you here.
Thank
So
you.
if for everybody that does remember, Susanna Aguilar, she's an executive coach. She's one of those very independent but very intuitive thinkers that everybody needs to really get a chance to know, because you can have a simple conversation with her, and before you know it, that simple conversation goes deeper and deeper, and before you know it, you really scratch your head thinking, wow, I didn't know I could really think like that before. So Susanna, thank you. And why don't you do a little bit deeper dive on who you are and what you do?
Thank you very much. I'm really excited about today's topic. Before we get into that, I am, like you said, an executive coach. I started in this coaching world now 4 years ago when I went to Barcelona to study this. My general background is from education. I come from the education world. So it has always been my passion to share um, whatever I have learned from my experience and continue learning so I can share with the most people possible, the more and the more that I keep learning. I'm very into emotional intelligence, cared about how people feel, to discover and to continue learning about that world of, okay, what is inside, not just focusing in the outside, but inside what is happening.
Well, let's have some fun here talking about anticipations. Now, I want to do a follow-up to my first story about my dad. The very next year, I'm now deer hunting with his buddies, but my dad's no longer with us. And so I've got him really deep in my mind. Everything I'm doing up there in the mountain, I'm thinking about my dad. And so I'm I'm remembering those words are echoing through my ears. I just love the anticipation that I might see that next big deer coming through the woods or that clearing. And as I was sitting there thinking about that, just kind of daydreaming, I hear this crack in front of me, so I know that there's someone or something coming towards me, but I can't see it, but I can still hear it, the movement. And about that time, here comes not a deer, but a human, and not really your typical man hunter. It was a female. She was
Wow.
dressed with a short denim skirt. She had cowboy boots on. She had a vest. She had the red bandana. She had her orange, hunting vest on, and she had a cowboy hat on, and she had a Winchester rifle.
Wow.
And I'm looking at her, and I don't know if everybody out there remembers the old character Annie Oakley, but she reminded me of Annie Oakley. And I looked at her and I had to rub my eyes a couple of times thinking, okay, I have never seen anything like this ever up in the mountains when I'm deer hunting. And I had to look up the sky and say, thanks, Dad, because you just ruined my whole my whole dream of what he was talking about, that anticipation, because I know I was only in my 20s and maybe I still had that youthful boy in me, and probably still thinking about girls at the time, but I could not believe that here this woman comes up dressed like a cowgirl, had that that Winchester rifle. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, well, she sees me, she walks up to me. She was a very pretty lady, but I'll tell you, she could talk hunting, she could talk, probably outshoot anybody else that's there. But I was just so amazed. But the funny part of the story is, all of my dad's friends and my buddies were all within probably 100 yards of each other along this hillside. And so when we get back to where we're all around each other, we're asking, did you see anything? And we're all saying, no, I didn't see this. And I'm waiting for someone to say they saw Annie Oakley. And 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 none of them say it. None of them actually say that they saw this woman. And I know it's almost impossible that she walked between me and all the other guys that I was hunting with. And so I'm waiting for it and no one brings it up. So I bring it up. I said, did anybody see this? And they're looking at me like, okay, are you drinking while you're hunting? Are you smoking pot while you're hunting? Because none of us saw that person. And to this day, they've never admitted that they saw this person. So I don't know if I really saw this person or if I was just daydreaming or not. But all I know is I have this story and I couldn't make this up. I don't know if I even had the creativity to make up a story like this, but that's my story. And by God, if I was smoking pot that time, I don't remember it, but all I remember is that I have this story in my head. So anyway, let's get to anticipations with you, Susanna. What is your thought and definition of anticipations?
Now that you tell this story, it made me think about something. And I think that we have to be careful with anticipations. And let me tell you why. I was thinking of other experiences that I have had where I have felt those kind of also the anticipations, like, oh, I think of or I recall past experiences where I think I am going to find maybe a good time again, or I'm going to find whatever my mind is creating in that moment. But then not all of my stories have like this good result or end, you know? So I think, and when I say be careful, is okay. I think it is good to have anticipations. I think that gives us that motivation or fun or spicy ingredient in what we are going to live or what we are working for. In the case you talked about business, but we have to be careful to confuse anticipations with expectations. Why? Because expectations, when those are not met, like when what I think is going to happen doesn't happen, something inside us arises, an emotion called anger, many times. So if we don't know how to handle that emotion with my not met expectations, I might not have a good result. So anticipations are a very good way of keeping us motivated, of giving us that energy to, I'm working in this because I want to have this result, or I think I am going to live this once again, but always being aware that it might not happen that way. So there's like this very thin line where I think we should be okay. I'm good. Like the very famous saying, wait for the best, but be prepared for the worst. You know, having the balance of, okay, this might not happen as I am expecting, but I'm going to try to make it, or just accept whatever the future brings, because everything that is not happening in this second is future, and we can't control it. So
but really, in a deeper dive, what is an anticipation?
anticipation to me is this, it happens in our mind. It's not real. And it's this idea of what I want to see in the future. I mean, at the end, an anticipation is a short travel in my mind to the future, trying to see like a window. Okay, let me see what is going to come. Okay, I saw it. And then we kind of make plans on that. That's a little risky.
Yeah. So that brings up, because we've had a couple conversations about anticipations, about is it going to steal away from our present because we're looking too far into the future? And I know that there was a study done by a famous West Coast university, and they surveyed, I believe it was something close to 10,000 young men between the ages of like 16, 17, and 20, 21, 22. And they had one simple question to them. If you had the opportunity to go out with a girl that is your dream girl, you get to go out on a date with your dream girl. And at the end of that date, you get to have a very, very enjoyable kiss with her. Would you want to have that happen today or 3 days from now? You know what their answer? You know what the majority of the answers were?
Why?
3 days from now.
Okay.
And I was thinking that, especially that age group of young men, that they would say, hey, if I get my dream date, I want it right now. If I'm going to get that, be able to kiss that young girl or my dream date, I'd rather have it now. But the majority of them wanted it in the future of 3 days. But what was interesting, when they asked why, their responses were all pretty similar. They said, because I want to live the anticipation. I want 3 days to wake up and knowing that I have that full fulfilled anticipation running through my body until it actually happens. So is that now representing we're still in the future? I mean, still living in the present. We're still living every day, but we're focused on today, on what my next 3 days is going to look like. Is that correct?
Okay, well, that is very interesting. Honestly, what I thought you were going to say, what they said about why in 3 days, I thought that most of them would have said, because I want to get prepared. Yeah. I never thought of that. And I get that, like, enjoying the anticipation, having that moment of I am living what I want to live in my mind, so I can get this emotion or this excitement, like happiness, or yeah, just to enjoy before it happens. But then it makes me question why? Like, okay, it is good when you can't take that or make that decision. But I mean, it's not something that someone comes and gives us the same question or gives us the same choice. What would you do? If it happens only in our mind, just thinking of or having this anticipation of how the moment is going to be, why is it better, or why do they prefer to live it before it really happens instead of enjoying the moment?
Could that be their form of preparation?
Maybe. And that answer gives me or reminds me the quote that says, we all people, humans, are so focused on preparing to live that we don't live at all. Oh, I am preparing for this because I want, like, maybe we prepare too much that when it really happens, it's not as we expected. I don't know.
Yeah. So let's bring it back now to us in reality.
Mhm.
I'm a big proponent that we need to live every day in the moment. We need to be present with everything we do. And if I am focused on that date 3 days from now, am I essentially out of the present while I'm thinking about that date 3 days from now? Or am I really more in the present because I'm really mentally preparing? Maybe I'm really just making sure that I've got my checklist of everything that's supposed to go right. So, what's your argument there?
I think anticipation is very good and it is necessary. And it's part of what gives us like that excitement also of life. I think that when we spend too much time living in that anticipation is when it steals the time from our present. You know, it's like, for example, I'm going on a trip next in 2 weeks. Okay, it's a plan. I have everything. I already bought the tickets and everything. Thinking about that makes me excited, like, oh, good, happy, and looking forward for the day to arrive and everything. That's good. But when I stay there too much time that I stop being aware of what is happening in the moment, then I think we're crossing the line and going to that little too much of the anticipation. If we do it just as what it is, okay, a moment where I can anticipate, knowing that it might not be as how I am imagining it in my head. Okay, well, I'm gonna try to make it good. I'm gonna try it to be the best trip ever, but it might not be because we don't know. And just there, stop and come back to today. Wednesday, September, okay, the year 2022, you know, and not like many people. And let me tell you something that I always share, and it always makes people laugh because it happens. Imagine you are on a trip on vacation. It is the last day. You're in a beautiful, like paradise in a beach and everything. And it is the last day. You have to go back the next day and then you have to go to work. That last day, how do you feel? Most of us feel sad. this is my last day because tomorrow I have to go back and then to work again. But wait, your anticipation is making you waste the last day of paradise that is in front of your eyes. No.
Exactly. So I'm glad you transitioned into now the world of the workplace and business, because anticipation I think, should be a highly regarded trait from the business side and the employee side. But there's also that side of the customer. If I'm a long-time customer or a first-time customer and I'm going there because people have referred me to this business, I'm going to have high anticipation, correct? And so, speaking of that dream trip, every year I go to Mexico with some family and we go to the same resort, and I have pretty much the same routine every evening after dinner. I go to the little sorbet and a gelato stand, and I get my favorite 2 or 3 scoops of my favorite coconut flavored gelato, and I have them put a little bit of chocolate syrup on it. So I'm almost essentially eating a frozen Mounds candy bar. And so we go out for our first night of dinner, and one of my friends' wife and I were excited to go to our gelato and get our dessert. So we get there, and they've got like 12 different flavors, and none of them say coconut on it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I was so full of anticipation because I always in my meal with going to this gelato stand, getting my coconut gelato and putting a little chocolate syrup on it and just enjoying every bite. And no, there's no damn coconut. So I'm looking around, and just the strawberry and all the other different passion fruits and all that just didn't interest me. And I saw this kind of cool looking color gelato, and it said tamarindo, and I'm thinking, I've never heard of tamarindo, but you know what? I'm already disappointed that I don't have my coconut, so I might as well get some tamarindo and just give it a try. So I ordered my couple scoops of tamarindo, and as she's handing me the thing, I said, "Do you mind putting a little bit of chocolate sauce
No.
on the tamarindo? You know where this is going, you know."
Yes.
So she looks at me kind of strange. So she goes over, she grabs the chocolate sauce, she puts a little chocolate sauce on it, and so I meet up with my friend's wife. She goes, "What kind you get?" I go, "Tamarindo. Here, take a bite." So she grabs her spoon, she takes a bite of tamarindo, and as she's taking a bite, I'm taking a bite, and I swear to God, it was the worst flavor worst taste I've ever had in my mouth. And not knowing what tamarindo was, I'm now ready to just spit it all out. I'm going, "What the hell is this?" We're now kind of jokingly making a scene because we just had no idea what we were putting in our mouth. And then as I told that story to you, you let me know what tamarindo was, and that chocolate is not the thing you put on top of tamarindo. So I've been schooled, but now I've got that vision in my head that, you know what, it'll never be the same going back to that place. So from a uh, consumer's point of view, a customer's point of view, I had a very bad experience at this very, very luscious resort. Now, obviously, it's not going to make me not ever go back there, but there's some times in business where you have a customer that's been referred. They talk, the other people who referred them talked raise, just lovely things about this business. You go there and you get disappointed to the degree that I was. I mean, I was really just literally, beside myself, and so from your point of view, where are businesses and team leaders and managers and owners falling short on getting their staff prepared for the right anticipations every day and having anticipations every day, and then making sure that we fulfill the customer's anticipations fully when they show up for at our place of business?
Well, by every story, and this last story that you just said, that it was so funny to me, and I was the first time I was like, no chocolate on tamarindo. Anticipations are built from previous experiences. I mean, If we had a bad experience, we might have this bad anticipation, like you did with tamarindo, right? And it might be a little too difficult to change it. You have to be willing to try it once again. And you're gonna be a little like, okay, but just a bit. And if you had a good experience, then your anticipations might be good, just like what happened to your dad. All the good experiences and going hunting, then it gave him these good, happy anticipations. So we cannot expect or want the people that work with us, like employees or customers, to build or to create a good anticipation if we're not caring about how the experience is going to be in the moment that is happening. So if my experience, if let's say I'm the employee, if my experience has been good, talking to my leader whenever I wanted to ask for, I don't know, permission to go to my kids' festival. And my boss or my leader at that moment was very understanding, good. He asked me, I saw him interested. My anticipation for approaching him might be good for the next time, But what happens if it is the opposite? Like the first time I asked for a permission to leave for any other reason, and then I had a bad response, I felt bad. I got a no, but in a bad way, because I might get a no, but like a comprehensive no, like, no, look, help us here because we have this important thing or whatever. But making me feel like, oh, okay, I understand. No worries. Let me see what else I can do. But if the first, or if my experience was bad, as the person didn't even look at me, or the leader didn't even ask me like why or anything, then my next time is going to be like a bad anticipation that might make me not want to ask again. Or that instead of asking, because my anticipation is telling me, he's going to say no, I am going to do it my way. I might make up a little lie there, like, oh, I feel sick or something. And then there is where problems might start.
So sit back, put your coaching hat on, and what advice would you give? What kind of coaching would you give to this business owner, this manager, on how to build this type of experience to where employees do come to work every day with that enthusiasm and anticipation that they are there because they want to be, they're excited to be there, and they're going to make that experience for the customer the best they can?
Well, first of all, I would ask them how excited they are with their own company, going themselves to the workplace. Starting from there, how excited they feel, how the anticipations they have makes them motivated, wanting to go. And then I would part from there. Okay, what makes you feel that way? Oh, because whatever they say, then I would try to ask him, how can you make all of these things that make you feel that way, how can you share them with your employees? How can you, how do you say, contagious? The same feeling that you have. But starting from me, because no, I don't like to go. I feel demotivated, but I want my employees to feel super happy. No, it doesn't work like that. It's like contradictive. So I would start with them first, and from what they say, from their answers, I would part to see how we can take that to the people that work there.
Where does the company mission statement get involved, or does it get involved when you are trying to create a team of highly anticipation anticipatory clients and staff?
Mission, I think it is super, super important, not to say the most important thing that every entrepreneur leader should take care of, because the mission is the where am I going? Where do I want to go? What do I want to reach? So if it is not clear for me, how is it going to be clear for the others? Remember, a leader is the one that leads, and a leader does not convince people. A leader inspires people. That's why leaders don't have employees. They have kind of like followers. That's what Simon Sinek says. A leader has followers. Good. So I have to know my mission, and then I have to share the mission with everyone so we are all aligned to the same thing. Yeah. And that is also, it also works as the first or the massive filter. Every company has mission, vision, and core values. Okay. Those are the most important things that a company should have super clear and to take every single day to share with every single employee, not just with the managers, not just with the salesperson, but also, also the janitor should know this mission, to involve them and to make them part of your dream, because every business starts here with a dream. And putting it in a very romantic language, every business is a dream come true. And when we listen to those words, a dream come true, we imagine these like Disney magical, super exciting, like, oh wow, then we should keep it that way. So being clear about the mission, first the owner or the leader, and then sharing it with others. That is how you will engage people to follow you, not because they have to, but because they want to. And that is going to make everyone to follow the same or to pursue the same goal with this passion and because they want. And having this, no matter, because I know in life we always have these some difficulties and stuff, but okay, these are just like little stones in the road. Let's take them away. But the main or the most important thing is this. That is going to make my anticipations always to be, yes, we have to continue this. Yes, we have to work harder. Yes, we want to do this.
So when you really think about the real benefits to the company, to the organization, you can refer back to Tony Hsieh at Zappos.
Yeah.
Why?
He shared his mission with the people. He had clear what his mission was, and he chose the people that shared his mission to build it, and he cared more about the people than the money. I read the book Delivering Happiness, where the story of how he started and everything is told. And it is amazing how he was, his main purpose was keeping people happy, not just the people that worked with him, but the clients. And that's how he started to grow, but not just to grow a big company speaking about money, which he did, but he created this very big family. When was it? Well, a couple of days ago, I watched in YouTube about this, about Sapo's company culture, organizational culture, where around 5 or 6 people that have worked there for many years talk about their experience and how it has been working there and how they are all connected and how it is about sharing, how everyone has super clear what the core values are. Values at the end are translated into behaviors. That's what I mean. A value is a behavior, like in action. So aligning those, which is what Tony did, always having it very clear what he wanted, what he was working for, was the thing that made him or made possible to build one of the best organizational cultures in the United States.
Okay. So this has been just absolutely enjoyable. I got a chance to tell 3 of my favorite stories, which is always a good podcast for me when I get to tell 2 or 3 of my favorite stories. So my anticipation level before the podcast was high, and now my energy level is even higher because I got to fulfill 100% of what I was dreaming about with those anticipations. Susanna, I can't thank you enough. This has been highly enjoyable. Give us a little bit of final inspiration from you before we say goodbye.
Well, I love anticipations, and I think we all love anticipations as long as they're good anticipations. We don't like bad anticipations. But I would say always think that anticipations are enjoyable, but they're never the real thing. They can push you, they can give you that fuel to feel that energy, or they can do the opposite. But always landing in the present, in the real thing, gives you the perspective to say, okay, this might happen as I am anticipating, or it might not. But anyways, I am going to try to enjoy it as much as I can. Like what I said, waiting for the best, but being prepared for the worst. So that would be my message. I don't know if...
Oh, good message. Susanna, how can the audience reach out to you if they want to learn more about you and hire you for your services?
Well, I have my LinkedIn account, which is my name, Susana Aguilar-Garayoa. And well, they can find me there.
Okay. So once again, thank you. And I hope that we have many, many more conversations here on my podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope. Thank you very much, Roger. I really enjoyed it. It was also for me a good anticipation before the podcast, and it came very good. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. My podcast wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for my sponsors and my great supporters. So let me take this opportunity to thank each and every one of them. First of all, I want to thank Rebecca at Custom Bookkeeping and Accounting, delivering trustworthy bookkeeping services since 2003. Dave and Dara at Virtues Matter, making this world a much happier place to be with their Virtues Card apps, coaching, and workshops. Stephen at Buller Accounting, giving business owners depth and insight to their numbers. Eric and his team at Ivy Cat Web Design, the real superheroes of web development and design. Jennifer and Jean at the Seavers Real Estate Team, serving Pierce and Kitsap counties with their home buying and selling needs. Maury at the Maury Method, the world's only brainwave entrainment engineer, helping everyone have more clarity, less stress, and overall better brain health. Priya at Pivot My Profit, helping individuals and businesses have better control of their finances and more money at the end of their day. Melissa at the Soul Vibe Energy High, the queen of the aha moments, helping individuals find those holes in their cups, repair the hole, and gain back their positive energy. And finally, Rick at West Sound Recording. You talk, they do all the rest. Thank you, Rick, for all your efforts with the production and editing of my podcast.